Now that we understand the working of macros, let us look at another interesting feature of Microsoft Excel, which is VBA or Visual Basic for Applications. If you look over here under the Developer tab, you can see Visual Basic, and when you click on it, you land on the Visual Basic editor. So VBA is a programming language that is used to automate tasks in Excel. VBA is a powerful tool that can be used to create macros, custom functions, and user interfaces. Now let me close this for the time being. And from here, if I go to macros, you can see that this is the macro that we created in our previous exercise. Now if I select this and click on edit, you can see the code for that particular macro. So for all the steps that we performed, Excel automatically converted those two lines of code. So as you can see here is the name of the macro, that is format quantity, and here are the steps in the form of codes. So the advantage of working with macros is that we do not have the need to understand the complexity of coding to automate any task. All we have to do is to record our steps and the codes will get created in the background. But if you are someone who is already good at coding or understands the programming language, can directly use the editor and add codes that can be called in our Excel workbook. Now let us look at how to write a code in the Visual Basic editor by creating a very simple function. For that, click on the Insert menu and select Module. This is where you can write your code. Now for example, I want to create a function to add two numbers. So I will start with typing function, which says that we are going to create a function. Then I will name my function as my function. And I will provide the arguments in brackets, which are x and y. And then press enter. As soon as I press enter, you can see that it has already added end function to our code, which declares the end of the function. So it is the basic structure of the function. So just like you start the function, you must also end it systematically. And so you must end a function with end function. Now let's define what the function is going to do. So my function is equal to x plus y. So the code here defines a function called my function. The function takes two arguments, x and y, and returns the sum of x and y. Now I need to save this, and then I'll close this. Then I'll also close the VBA and go back to our worksheet. Now let us try calling the function that we just created. It is just like using any other function that is already there in Excel. So we start with an equal to sign and then write my, and then you can see my function being listed here. Now hit the tab and let's say the arguments that I want to give are 5 and 9. So 5, 9, then close the bracket and enter. So we can see that the function my function has calculated the sum of the numbers that we entered because that was what we had defined under my function. So this was a very simple example just to make you understand how to create and then call a function. You can create a function as complex as you require and you can easily call that in Excel. And just like macros, you can save these only in a macro-enabled workbook. Some things must be kept in mind when creating a function of your own. To understand these better, let me go over here and open the code for the function that I just created. The first thing is that the name of the function must start with a letter and can only contain letters, numbers, and underscores. You can see that the function name contains only letters and can also have numbers and underscores. Next, The arguments of the function must be declared in the function header, as can be seen here. The body of the function must contain the code that performs the calculation. So in this case, this single line of code is the body of this function. And finally, as we already talked about, the function must end with an end function statement. So this is how the structure of a function should be. You can also make use of the help menu in the VBA to get help with VBA syntax and functions. There are also many resources available online that can help you learn VBA.